What's up, people? Welcome back to another episode of Stars and Garters. Hope you enjoyed your spring break, because I didn't have one, but it's fine. I'm taking one this week, but the podcast took one last week, so, whatever. Mostly because I didn't do one on Monday, and I was like, nah, it's whatever, because most people are having spring break, so that's gonna be my excuse. Spring break and whatnot. So, it's Marvel Monday, and I'm gonna try to record this in 30 minutes because I only have 30 minutes until I have to go do something, and I don't like stopping the recording and then coming back and doing another one. So we're gonna try to do this in 30 minutes, which might be hard because my outline is like super long right now. But it might. I don't know. We'll just try to condense it. So let's get right into it. So, as you may remember, I did, on Wyatt Week, we did a review of the comic The Last Ronin, and I asked at the end of that if you would like to see me do more comic reviews, and from the two people that answer my questions, there was a resounding sure. So, we're gonna do another comic review. So this comic, it's a little series. Yes, I'm reviewing the whole series, but don't worry. I'm gonna do it. I'm gonna do it quick, and I'm gonna do it good still. So let's do that. So this is a series called The New X-Men, and it's one of the only series that I have, I think, the entirety of that run of the series. So this is I don't know what year it was, like 2009 or something? I'm trying to look, because there is another series of New X-Men, but it's not the normal X-Men that's for some reason called the New X-Men, because that's the one that always pops up when I search New X-Men. But this is actually like the new X-Men, as in new characters are becoming the X-Men. So this, to be honest, I picked this one up as I have all of the series that I have, because X-23 is in it, and as you may recall, I did an entire episode on her because I think she is an awesome character. One of my top 5. Go watch that one. Just go watch all of mine, by the way. My throat is not working with me today, so bear with me if any voice cracks may occur. But so yeah, X-23 was in this series. I didn't know what she was doing. I just saw that she was there, and I was like, great, I want her. Her series. That sounded a little weird, but you know what I mean. And I'm trying to collect her complete reading order. I still have a long way to go. I thought I had like most of it, and I have the bigger parts, I think, but there are still, like, especially the most recent ones she was in. By the way, I feel like I should announce this since I love her character so much, and I've talked about her a lot in this podcast. As of last month, she officially died in main continuity. Laura Kinney is dead. She was disintegrated, and then at that time there was like a way you can resurrect mutants, because Jean Grey had some sort of power like that by keeping their psyches alive, and her boyfriend, who can take other mutants' powers, was doing that for a time, but he couldn't beat the bad guy while also keeping her alive, so he let her go, and she is dead. But as usual, there's some aspect of it where is she really dead? Because there was a clone made of her, and not like Gabby, like I talked about, her clone. It's a clone that is her. Like, it's not a separate identity. It's, it was meant to replace her because they thought she was dead before she actually died, and they made a clone of her to replace her. So, there's that. But the Laura Kinney that went through the whole thing that she did, basically, I mean, not basically, literally all the things that I talked about in the episode about her, that Laura Kinney is dead. So, sad times, but it happens. I kind of hope they keep her dead, because, they just should. I need to do a whole episode on that, because there's a lot more I could say, but I'm wasting time, and I need to get into the actual review of these comics. But yeah, New X-Men. So, basically, it's about a new team of X-Men. Some kids coming up and making this new team. One of the things I love about this is that the old team, a lot of the members, basically all the members of the old team, are still here, and they're active and they're doing stuff. But this story focuses on a new team. So it started out with just this one, which is mainly just called New X-Men, Childhood's End. And so the rest of the series is called New X-Men Childhood End, and then another subtitle. So I guess the whole title of this series is just New X-Men Childhood's End. I'm not really sure, but that's what that is. It started out with this book. So this one, it starts out with M-Day, which is a big, big event in X-Men continuity where Scarlet Witch altered reality to where, like, a bunch of the population of mutants, like, I don't know, 99% or something, lost their powers. And we get to see this from the perspective of Xavier's school, or maybe it's Jean Grey. I don't know. I think it's the Academy for the Mutants. We get to see this in this comic. We get to see the reaction in that school, which was really fascinating. One of the big high points of this book, because it's, one thing for the adults, but like with the teenagers getting their powers lost, it was very interesting to see. And then also this has a storyline where William Stryker tries to take advantage of this weakness and go and kill students. So, because that's his thing. If you don't know, he's like a religious fanatic and he kills mutants because he thinks that God didn't create them. So that's fun. Yeah, he's a fun character. But so basically, the review of this comic, X-23 is done excellently. It's earlier in her journey. So her character's done really well. Wolverine calls her back because he just thinks she's be safer there, and like the kids need as many mutant friends as they can get. So he calls her back. She doesn't want to be there. Everyone's scared of her, and it's a whole story that she goes throughout this whole series, and it's done really well. And all of these characters I thought were really cool. I had never seen any of these people before, but these are the main guys, dudes. So right here up top, doing all the electricity, we've got Storm. Not Storm. That is not Storm, you guys. It's something Surge. Sorry, they're similar names. Shame on me. I shame my family right there. But over there, we got Surge. This is Dust. This is Rock Slide with the rock body and stuff. This yellow dude over here is Elixir. This silver girl is Mercury, because she's made of mercury. Of course, this lovely person at the center of it all is X-23, and then this dude is Helion. So yeah, basically, those were all totally new characters for me, never heard anything about them, and they are all very interesting. They all have very distinct personalities. There were a few other characters who, I don't know where they're not in front. This guy on the back with the wings, the red wings, so he's not Angel, is Icarus. He has a really, really sad story that goes on in this one, which I'll get into, but these are the main guys who are going to go through the most in this series. But there's also Jay, Icarus, and then a kid named Wither, who are not shown on the cover, but they do have significant roles. So it was really cool to see just these new characters, their personalities, and they're interacting with characters I'm familiar with, so it just gets good spotlights on them. Basically, X is doing her thing at the beginning of her, like, existence, where she's very stoic and she doesn't really talk to anybody, but she is violent as well. Helion he's a telekinetic, and his telekinesis is green, so that's fun. And he's kind of a jerk. He's like jerky but cool. He's, that kind of stereotype. Dust over here, she's like really, really sweet and just kind of, she doesn't like violence, and she can turn into dust. So, their creativity really shown on that one. Surge over here is pretty basic. She can control and manipulate electricity, and she's really hot-headed, and she's kind of, the tough one, that type. Look at her blue hair. Rebellious. And Rock Slide is stupid, but he's like, the jokester, the goofball. He's not very smart, and his superpower is that he's made of rocks, and some weird things get done to his power set that we will talk about later, because they come on later in the series. Elixir, I really liked him. His name is Josh Foley, And his power, he's actually an Omega level mutant, which means there's like no foreseeable limit to his powers. But right now in this stage, his powers are just healing. So he can heal himself, he can heal other mutants, and that's why he's gold. So, actually, it's not. There's like a whole deal. But Mercury is a liquid. Her body is made up of mercury, and she can shapeshift it into anything basically, and like turn into liquid. And she's not. She's like technically not human, so she's fun. She's kind of like, I don't know. She's pretty basic girl. She's kind of like what the girl next door kind of type. She's pretty basic. But yeah, did I say their names? I didn't. Helion is Julian Keller. Dust is oh Soraya Quadir, I think. Surge is Noriko Ashida. Is it? And then Rockslide is, I forgot his name. My bad. And then Mercury is Cecily Kincaid. So those characters are all really, really cool. I really loved how the story centered around the Academy, as I said, because it's like the worst reactions and the most like uh visible reactions, I guess, are gonna be at the academy because these are teenagers. They don't really handle things in life well because their brains don't function as well as they should. And all of these like personalities, it's crazy just to see. The first few pages do a great job of showing all the like panic and all the stuff. Some people are like some of the people it's giving them like major physical changes without their powers. Some people love that they don't have powers, they want to be normal. Some people miss their powers, and like a few of the kids have to go through the thing where they wish they had lost their powers. Like Mercury in particular, she says, "Why not me?" Because she's she's a liquid mercury thing, and she's not really as human seeming as her other mutants. But yeah, I thought that was done very, very well, and it was super interesting. Teenage existential crises, whatever it is. I don't really care. And then the plot with Stryker was very interesting. It's pretty dark. I mean, it's called Childhood's End for a reason. It gets real dark sometimes, but basically Jay is also, I think he seems to be religious, and so Stryker convinces him that like he somehow convinces him to like aid him in his plan because he tells him that he's going to protect his friends, and so he like Jay is unwillingly tricking his friends and luring them into uh you know doing stuff for Stryker because and so Stryker is trying to kill him and stuff. So basically Stryker convinces him to get his wings amputated, which is really, really bad because he is also a healer. Like he heals himself, I think. He has a healing factor. I'm not sure about others. Well, I think he does heal others as well. But the thing is, without his wings, his healing thing doesn't seem to be working. So Jay is like in the process of dying throughout this book because he's had his wings amputated because Stryker told him to, and he has been giving Stryker information, which is very bad because at the end he has told Stryker that all of the mutant kids who have turned into non-mutants, have turned into humans, are being shipped away from the school on a bus because Emma Frost has said that's for her good. So she's sent them all away on a bus, and Jay tells Stryker that they're all going on a bus, and it ends with the bus exploding. 49 teenagers on this bus, and it exploded. So, that's how that one ended. So, I was pretty excited. I just threw that on the floor. Whatever, we're not talking about that comic anymore. So, yeah. That one, it ended pretty rough, but I really wanted to see what happened next. Like, I didn't, I thought maybe they were not gonna go that, not gonna actually follow through with that. But we're going to move on to the next comic in this series, New X-Men Childhood's End Crusade, which it doesn't say on the front of this. I don't think it says on any of these. But for some reason I know that. How do I know that? I don't know how I know that. It's just called that, I guess. That's really weird. Anyway, it's so this one, it starts out with the funerals for, well, the funeral for specifically Brian, who was Helion's friend, and he was one of the kids who got turned human, and he was on the bus when it blew up. So, but it starts with the funeral for him, and then it shows in a shot, it goes through what all of the main characters in the group went through when the bus exploded. So it like goes through that as the funeral is happening. It was like really interesting. Helion got his face blown up because he went too close to try to help Brian. Rockslide went through some trauma because he didn't know what to do and he just stood there, and so he's going through some stuff right now. And because he thought he should have done more. Surge just kind of did her thing, ran in to help, and just saw all the destruction and death. So that was fun for her. X-23 didn't really have a moment because she's not really good at emotions yet, because she's not good at being a human. And then Jay got it, not Jay, the other Josh. Josh, there's two Joshuas, one is Jay, one is Josh. This is Josh, the yellow boy, the healer. He went through the roughest part because one of the students was still alive, and he tried to heal him, but he got there too late, and he was dead. So that did not go well for him. He was going through a lot of stuff there. But then they end that funeral scene, and it shows all the graves of the children. And what made this even darker was that it was later revealed, because obviously there were about 40-something children on the bus that died, and obviously this isn't 40-something graves. It was revealed later that those are the graves of the children whose parents didn't want them, even in death, because they were mutants. So, yeah, got pretty heavy at the start. But so this comic goes through the story of the kids. So they've officially been established as the new X-Men. They're going to train together as a group, and so they're preparing for Stryker's next attack. So they go through that, and it's not going well because they're all just traumatized, and everything is really bad. And we get to see Jay again. He has his biggest part in this because he has escaped from the hospital and is continuing to give Stryker information against his will. He really thinks he's helping his friends, and he thinks that Stryker is going to save them. And so, it's not going well for him, and he has been talked into leading Dust into a trap, which he doesn't know. Again, he doesn't know any of this is happening. So Stryker is doing this because he has seen like a vision, which it's kind of complicated what those were, but he saw it was like a vision of the future that they had on video or something, and every time they would play it like he would see himself being defeated, and he was murdering all the kids who would defeat him in the end. And so there was this one character, Wallflower, who she was the one who beat him in like the end. All of the other mutants were dead. Then Wallflower was the one standing, and Josh had a thing with Wallflower. So they were talking, and Wallflower gets shot in the head by a sniper, so she dies. So that was fun. And then it's revealed that Dust is the one that's left standing after Wallflower. So now he's tricking Jay into luring Dust into a trap. So that's his whole thing, and it's not a good time for him. So yeah, at the end, Stryker's team does attack, and they have to find a way to fend him off. He shoots up the school. He kills another student, some dude with fur. Dust does not die because X-23 could tell that Jay was lying, so she knocked Dust out and took her place, and she was fine she got shot up, but she can heal, so she was all good. And then she killed those two guys. She killed a lot of people, stabbed them in the brain. So that was fun. And then that whole attack, it ends up being he kills a kid, a like furry dude, and he shoots him in the face. Or one of his purifiers, that's his followers, shoots him in the face. And so that happens, and then the guy who it ends up being Jay, not Jay, good grief. These Joshuas. Josh, Elixir, Healy Boy, Yellow Healy Boy, Elixir, who he actually ends up killing Stryker. The new X-Men are able to fend off his purifiers for long enough, and then Stryker actually shows up. Elixir goes up from behind him, and he just touches his face, and he gets like these horrible, horrific like lumps and masses on his face, and he dies. And so Jay didn't know he could do that. So that's one of the reasons Jay is an Omega level mutant, because he can basically create and destroy life with a touch. So it's pretty powerful. But this is the first time Jay has ever used his power to kill someone, so Jay's skin turns from gold to black, and he goes into like a catatonic, you know, kind of not mentally there state. Which, like, he's not unconscious, but he's also, like, he's not really aware of anything that's going on. And so, yeah, at the end, Jay does get shot in the head, but he's not like quite dead yet at the end of this one, because of his, like, he still has some sort of a healing factor, so he dies pretty slow. But yeah, there's gonna be a thing. He does one last good thing before he dies, and it's in the next book. But so yeah, this one was also really good. It got like, the first one kind of, it foreshadowed a lot of heaviness, but this one was just so much death. Like, oh my goodness, it was like, and they're kids, but it was one of the things the book did really well. It was like, just childhood's end, dude. Like, you were not kidding. There's so much death. People just died all over the place. But like, it started off so strong in that funeral. Like, the whole aftermath of the bombing was like so well shown. Like, all the characters' reactions were very in character and very interesting to see, and it was very well depicted. The story is it's very interesting in these characters. The final fight against the Purifiers was super well done. It was awesome to see the new X-Men just kick butt in their own way. They, like, a few of them got shot, but like not that bad, but it was super good action scene there. And then I really like where they went from this with Elixir's arc. Knowing that he could kill people with a touch is a pretty crazy thing. There's another student that I mentioned called Wither in the first part who can also do that, but he ran away after he realized that he hadn't lost his powers. He ran away from the academy. So now Elixir has to deal with that same thing of being able to kill people with a touch. So it was very interesting how they took that arc. I will say, the only real big negative about this comic was that they switched artists, and I hate this artist. And they kept him for the rest of the series until the last book, which the last book was all kinds of weird, and we're going to talk about that later. But the last book the art was another thing that was really, really weird. But the art in this one, it's not bad. It's just, I really like the first artist better. And second of all, he changed X-23's suit, which she didn't really. No. She had a suit, and it was like a one-piece kind of like jumpsuit thing, and it was like a kind of a classic spy thing, except it was like sleeveless, and it was totally fine. And now she's wearing a corset and some tight leather pants, because of course she is. And so hate it when he does that, or he hate it when they do that at all. It's so dumb. It's like, she's like been trained from birth to be an assassin. You'd think she'd know not to wear stuff like that. It's like, yeah, just like open up all the areas, just get shot up all over the place. I mean, she's invincible, but still, it's so dumb, and I hate it. But that was the only real drawback. I mean, it was bearable because the story was so strong, and the art is not unattractive. It's just some dumb changes were made, and I really like the first artist better. But I digress. It was not that bad, not the hugest downplay. Since I yeeted the first one, I'm gonna yeet this one. Cool. Alright. No, I'm not gonna make it to 30 minutes. Okay, whatever. But I'm gonna keep going. We're gonna keep going. The next one in this series is called New X-Men, Childhood's End, Nimrod. It doesn't say that on the cover. How do I know what these titles are? Oh, it says right there. Never mind. It's in the book, just not on the cover. So, it is titled for the robot Sentinel Nimrod. So, if you don't know what Sentinels are, they are robot mutant hunting machines, and they are very, very, very good at killing and hunting mutants. And Nimrod is kind of the ultimate killing machine. So he's like the ultimate one of those, and it has turned out, so Jay, in his last moments, wrote out of his blood. He took his blood and he wrote half of the word Nimrod, and they took a while to figure out what he meant because he wrote Nimmer. He wrote Nimr. So he was trying to warn them about Nimrod, but basically, as he was helping Stryker and he was figuring out that Stryker was really bad, he also figured out that he had acquired a Nimrod Sentinel and was going to unleash it on the X-Men, and it was not going to be good, so he was trying to warn them about it. So this book is where they have to go and fight. That one, they have to go. And so Stryker's gone, and now they're having to go fight Nimrod. But the OG X-Men who are there, they don't believe that it's Nimrod because they believe it was destroyed. But the kids are not with that because they've, like, all the people who have died have been like their friends and their group, so they are not about to have any more people die, so they go after it and they fight Nimrod, and that's, the majority of the book, and it's pretty cool to see. I know it's not like, or at least my dad, I know, but I know people don't always like it when, the youngers are able, the youngers, the kids, the younger people, the teenagers are able to beat a villain that, like, the adults hadn't, or, like, I know people don't always like that, but I think it's really cool to see them interact with their villains. So, because I know everybody likes the classic better, but, like, I think it's still cool because I like these characters and I like them, so I guess that, but whatever. I thought it was really, really cool. So yeah, to expound on that, what I thought was cool about it, that was a good place for the story to go. Having Nimrod come from Stryker, following that through was good. So it starts out with like some crazy stuff between Emma Frost and Carol Danvers, actually, as Miss Marvel, I believe, and not Captain Marvel. I think. I'm not really sure. But it starts out with some like really crazy stuff because Carol is apparently, she's like trying to convince Emma to do something where like the mutants register themselves as mutants. It sounded really dumb, but I'm not really sure exactly what she was asking for. I mean, it was called like the Mutant Registration Act, so that's what I assume it is. And Emma was very angry, and she was saying that that would make it easier for the enemies to find where the mutants are. Um, and so she like telepathically put Carol in all the situations the X-Men had been through in the past few stories. So like, and it got pretty dark. Like she telepathically like made her think that she was in a coffin with one of the dead students. So, yeah, she was not happy. I mean, she was going through a lot of stuff. Like, you could see a few points where she's just not dealing with any of this well because the students are hers. Like, she's in charge of the students, so she's going through some stuff as well. But she gets pretty intense right here. She kind of screws Carol up for a minute. Like, she does some dark stuff. But, yeah. She, like, points out, like, she brings her to the, telepathically, she brings her to the funeral for Brian, and she's like, this is this is this kid. This is his like funeral. I don't see the Avengers showing up to pay their respects. And I was like, geez, that's a little rough. But she gets that way sometimes. That's very in character for her, I feel. So I thought it made a lot of sense. These characters are very much who they are, and they are teenagers, and it makes a lot of sense that they would just go off and be like, well, guess we gotta fight this thing, because, like, the adults weren't doing it, so they stole one of the, like, planes, I can't remember which one, and, one of the guys, Prodigy, who doesn't have his powers, he didn't get on the bus, that's why he's still alive, but he doesn't have his powers, but he's been hanging out with the group, so he pilots the Blackbird, and that group, Prodigy, and then the ones who've been at the forefront all along, fly and go try to beat Nimrod, and it gets pretty crazy, because they do it. It gets, it's like it doesn't really go well at all, like at the start, because it kind of like starts with so Rock Slide, I think, is the first one who goes, and he basically dies, because Nimrod, he jumps in front of one of his friends. I can't remember which one he does, because he says he's not gonna just stand there and stare like he did at the bus. So and he jumps in front of him and gets disintegrated into pebbles because he's made of rocks. So that is not ideal. And then like they're fighting it, and so this guy Forge, one of the older X-Men, has created a protocol inside of it that will turn it in, like, rewrites its programming to make it like a mutant assisting robot kind of thing. And so he uses those protocols when he finds out the kids are fighting it, but the kids are still attacking it because they don't know it's good now, and he gets there too late to tell them to stop attacking it, and they've messed it up so bad that it reverts to its original programming, and now it's trying to kill them again. So they have to like make a plan, because it's feeding the Nimrod thing is feeding off like a time machine or something like that inside of it at its core that's powering it. So they have to expose that and attack it. So it like they have Mercury go and hold it open, and then well, no, they decide they need to make an opening in Nimrod and expose the time machine. They need somebody to keep it open, and they need somebody to like override the machine so it explodes and then Nimrod dies. So X-23 is the one who makes the opening. She just slashes it like she does, but then she gets disintegrated, and it's pretty nasty. Like, she gets all the way like to the muscle, and she gets messed up, like past her healing factor. And then Mercury holds it open. She shapeshifts around it, holds it open, and the Surge electrocutes it, and it's all good. And they kill it, and it blows up, and they almost go back home and save the day, but not before they find out that X-23's healing factor is not compensating for her electrocutedness, and Helion, I always want to say Helion, but I don't think that's right. Helion is not having that. He says he's seen too many of his friends die, so he rushes her back to Josh, who is still, black and not responding and not mentally there, and he, like, throws her on top of Josh and says, you have to heal her, and it works, and he heals her, and as he heals her, he turns back to gold again, so he, discovers that new thing about his powers. So he is good again, and X-23 is good again, and everybody gets to be cool and good, and they victoried. Good job, everybody. And at the end, it was revealed, though, that Jay is over. Jay is dead. He hung on for a really long time, but he is dead. Like, he was dying from the halfway through the first volume, and now in volume 3, he's dead. And it was really sad, and I wanted him to live. I thought his healing factor was going to come through in the end, and I really liked his character. Was so interesting. He seemed like a cool dude, but he died, and it was really sad. And they kind of had like a mass funeral led by Kitty Pryde, just like remembering all the bajillion of characters that have died, including the students that were like blown up and kind of all commemorated them, and it ended on a really sad note. But also it was good. It was really good, really well done stuff, and that was kind of the end of like the striker mutant not homicide, like mutant genocide fight arc of this series. And it was really well done. Just like a lot of stuff, a lot of heavy stuff, but the story just carried really well, and these characters are all very interesting, and it's been done super well. Loved the story. Same stupid artist. Don't like him at all, but you know, it is what it is, and it's a great story, very well told. Uh, Surge even gets to do her little superhero dopamine moment because she, like the police show up, and because there's been explosions, obviously Nimrod blew up at the scene, and he asked them who they are, and she said we're the X-Men, so that was pretty sweet. That was a nice little. Oh, she said that. That's cool. She's like, she has the title. They have the title. Oh, did I mention Rockslide lived? Like, he's basically immortal because he's made of rocks, and he's like, he can kind of just come together. So I don't know how you get rid of that guy. So yeah, it all wrapped up in a nice little bow. Series is not over though. There's 2 more books in the series. I think the reason the other 2, this next one, volume 4, let me eat this one. The volume 4 is not bad. It's just not as strong, I feel like, as the first 2 were. And it's probably because the story had to take such a shift because they had already, like, they finished, Stryker and Nimrod, and they finished that story. So I understand why it wasn't as great, in my opinion. But, you know, I still wish it was better. And then the last one was, all right. It was. We'll get to that one. Get to that. But the next one, New X-Men, Childhoods and Mercury Falling. So as you can probably tell, this one centered a lot more on like Mercury for some reason. It was a very interesting way to bring in the villain that they did. This one, like it was even more so like character focused than the rest of them had been, and I feel like it had to be because again, they got rid of these big villains and they're just done with that. So it's like, what do you do now? You bring back one of the characters' villains, and the only one who's really been around long enough to have a villain was X-23, and her nemesis, sort of, that, like, she already had a nemesis when she was, like, 9, so, but she has this nemesis named Kimura, who, I think I mentioned her in my X-23 episode, but she's a woman with indestructible skin, so, like, kinda that does not work for X-23, because her claws can pierce anything, and she can stab and kill everyone, but, how do you kill someone with indestructible skin that you literally cannot pierce no matter what? So, Kimura is super sadistic, and now it seems she has come back, both to get X-23 and her main goal is actually to get Mercury, because it turns out Mercury's skin is made out of mercury. Obviously, because I said that. And so she wants to use Mercury's skin to make shape-shifting mutant hunting dogs. Yep, that's what that is. And so she wants to skin Mercury, basically. And then she also kind of gets X-23 back, because X-23 escaped from where she worked, the facility, and she's always been trying to get her back, but she gets kind of X-23 back as a bonus, and also trying to skin Mercury. So that's basically their whole deal that they have to deal with that's going on. And that's basically the main story. There's a little bit going on where the other characters who have kind of taken a backseat at this point are figuring out kind of the new lineup for the team, because like Josh is not really sure where he's gonna go, because he's gone. He's thinking thoughts deeply, and he doesn't know where he's supposed to go because he's figured out this big new thing about his powers, how his skin turns black when he kills and his gold when he heals, so he has to deal with whatever that means. And wait a minute. Okay. Yeah. he has to deal with that, but it's mostly a backseat. So the story is mostly about X-23 Mercury, and then Helion also gets to be in the story pretty much because he him and X have a little kind of thing going on now, like something. They're getting closer, and it's kind of the start of well, no, the start of Helion and X-23's weird little thing was actually the last issue. It was very closely teased, and she started liking him. Like she started kind of being interested in him because he saved her life. So they did that little thing. But this, like, grew it because they're getting closer, and X-23 is the first one to find out that Mercury's being captured because she saw it, she was there. So she comes back to the academy very briefly to like get her things so she can go rescue Mercury. And then Helion sees her and he learns what she's doing. He's like, "Well, I have to go with you because him and Mercury are like sister and brother kind of." So not really, but like, they have a very close platonic relationship. So they go and it's their thing that they're trying to stop Kimura and save Mercury. It's mostly them working together to do that throughout this. So they go and they try to do that. It's mostly like them. It's I like again. This one is a very character focused. So it's really, if you don't like these characters, I could see why you wouldn't like this book in particular. I thought, the other ones had much stronger stories and villains that were already connected. So this one was very much about those characters, like, growing and getting closer. And, like, Mercury has this new arc because she's, like, traumatized because, she got skinned. Not, she was, you know, attempted to be skinned. So she has a whole trauma thing going on now. And then X-23 is, uh, kind of learning that killing is not really a thing that the people do and are okay with. Uh, Especially people her age, because she just like straight up shoots a bad guy after telling him that she'll spare him if he tells her the truth. And Hellion's like, "Hey, that is not okay at all. We do not do that." So she has to learn about that, and then in the end, the other members of the new X-Men do learn that what's going on, and they come in and they all have a big final fight against Kimura and the dogs, the Mercury skin dogs that kill mutants. And yeah, they all have to fight against that. And then one of the mutant dogs gets out and is not killed. So that's, interesting. See what that happens. It doesn't really come up again. But it's out there in the world. So yeah. And they beat the dogs. Mercury gets back and has all this trauma and all that good stuff. So yeah. And then it ends with just Emma just being a little psychopath again, because it ends with her finding Kimura, like, hiding out, and she uses her telekinesis to, like, paralyze her where she can't move and can't kill her. So even though Kimura has indestructible skin, she does, at this point in continuity, have a weakness to telepathic attacks because that has nothing to do with her skin. And so Emma, for, just because, I don't know, she makes the decision to remove all of Kimura's memories of her grandmother, who was apparently the only person who was ever nice to her. So yeah, she gives her a whole big speech about how, like, I don't know, just how her actions were bad, and then she removes all her memories of her grandmother. And so yeah, that was pretty rough. Emma does some dark stuff. She's a little screwball sometimes, but I don't love her. I was gonna say we love her, but I mean, I don't particularly. She's an interesting one, but so she does that, and that's how the book ends. So yeah, literally last page is Kimura crying. It's pretty messed up. But yeah, this one was, yeah, I still enjoyed it pretty much because, first of all, it's a spotlight on X-23. She's like the main focus of all this because Kimura is her villain. So, that's pretty good for me. I love X23. And yeah, I still liked it, but the story could have been more connected. It could have, I don't know, it could have been better, but I don't hate it. I was fine with it. It was okay. 4 stars, that kind of thing. So yeah. Oh, this was not 30 minutes at all. Ha ha ha. That's funny. Okay. So yeah, that was that one. And now, the book that for some reason was the end of this series, for some reason, and is just a hot mess, kinda. Am I covering? Sorry, censored. But yeah. It's called New X-Men Childhood's End Search for Magic. Magic with a K. Uh, okay. Yeah, this is how this one ended. So, huge focus on the other members of the new X-Men, or like not members, but the other students at the academy who still had their powers but were not focused on, just kind of seen in the background, maybe made a little comment here or there. And it was much more focused on them than our known cast that we've like come through. And like the story, I think it's like, so there's this demon. You know it's gonna be good when it starts out like that. So yeah, there's this demon called Belasco who he comes and uh he like puts the students in I don't know, kind of like a version of hell, question mark. It was real weird. And because he's come looking for magic, which was a girl that he had abducted. Her thing is she's been abducted by him and taught by him, and she's become really powerful, and he wants her back, basically. So she is back, and he's looking for her, and she's, working with the new X-Men to stop him. And this thing was crazy. I didn't know what was happening. Like, what? And there was still like some crazy teen drama, and like the cast, the main characters are like, there's some super weird stuff going on with them. All of them get some weird arcs. Like, Josh is just being a little creeper. I don't even know what he's doing. Like, he's just being a weirdo uh at this point. And he's learned how to do something real weird with his powers, and so he does that. It's like something where he opens their full potential or something. I don't even know what it was supposed to be. And he does that to that kid Prodigy, and he basically gives him what his powers were back. He doesn't give him his power back, but his power was to absorb the knowledge and skills of anyone around him. So he gives him back every skill he had ever taken from someone. And so now Prodigy is like super stoic and like, what, I don't even know, like, just acting creepy again, and he's become completely different, like basically a robot now, where he was very much not before. By the way, I know I didn't talk about him basically at all, but he was definitely not as robotic. Surge kisses Helion for some reason. Like, her and Prodigy always had a thing all throughout this, and Helion, he liked another girl, but she left, and then he and Surge always hated each other, and they showed like literally nothing. And she just kind of grabbed him and kissed him, and even he was like, "What?" And then that made X23 mad because they have a thing. It was so weird. Like, I don't know what they were trying to do there. It got weird. And yeah, it's like, I still like these characters, but also, what are you doing to them? Like, what? This is so weird. It was so wonky the whole time. Just so much weird stuff. I mean, the demon thing, it's also a really like icky plotline. Hate it when they do that stuff. And yeah, it's just, a lot of weirdness going on. And like, what's with this new team, Like, I don't want a new team. You've just spent us 4 volumes building up this team, and now you're saying, oh, now you gotta care about random green guy, random pixie girl, and random girl with spots. There's literally a random girl with spots. I don't know what her name is. It's like a Yaney or something. That's not it at all. That's completely not it. But yeah. Or her, it's like, no, it's not. I don't know. It's just, I don't even know what is happening. And I don't care about this new team. I want to see the old team. And I don't want the demons. And like, what? The only one who made sense as a character was Rockslide, which he wasn't my favorite, but you know, that's good, I guess, that they kept him right. But he's still like a goofball, and then he gets blown up again, and just he reforms himself, but the rocks that are around him are like lava rocks, so he becomes a lava rock dude. He still has the same personality, but I guess he's just immortal. Like, I guess that's what they're trying to say. He can just blow up and come back. He's good. Like, I don't know what you're gonna do with him. Uh, yeah, I guess he's just immortal. But like, what is happening? What is this book? I don't know. I don't know why I'm asking you, because if I don't know, then who knows? Honestly, sounded a little haughty, but like, seriously, what is happening? What? I don't know what this was. I don't know what it was. Okay, it's like, and this last issue's art. I mean, let me just. I'm sorry if you don't have video, but like, look at that. Like, what is that? What is this? These are not the people we know. What is this happening? I just got really close to the mic. I don't know if that was loud, but like, yeah, that was not it. I will be honest. I always, man, see, I am way too dedicated as a geek to all of the things that I like. So I always try so hard to like something that comes out of it. And it's just like, it happens mostly when I re-watch or reread or, visit it again, that I realize, oh, no, that wasn't great. That was pretty bad, actually. And that's what happened with this one. I was like, okay, yeah, no, it just didn't. Yeah, it was special. So that was not the greatest way to end the series. I wish they hadn't done that. I like, what, like, and now I don't know where these people end up. Like, what do they do after this? I don't know. I don't know what happens to them. I don't know where to go. I think it's like a book called Messiah Complex, so I think it's that, but like, also maybe it's not. Like, it was so weird, and I wish it hadn't ended like that. Okay, I just yeeted that one already. So, but yeah. So overall, New X-Men, mostly a really entertaining series about the younger mutants and how they deal with things very differently. They have very similar problems because they are mutants, but they're so young, and they, make some, mistakes that are more like teenagers, and it's just a very interesting perspective. These characters are all unique and easy to get into as like characters. Well, not all of them, but most of them have something about them, and then like, for the ones that I didn't love, it was just because they personally didn't float my boat. All really great characters. Very interesting, complex, heavy series, but I thought they did it in a good way where it didn't feel just like gratuitous, I think is the word. I'm not sure. It wasn't just like ridiculously violent. It was done in a really kind of good way that kind of showed the things they were trying to show, explore the things they were trying to explore, and it was never a weird, like, never like a agenda kind of thing. There was one questionable moment in that last book, but the series ended on a just horrible low note with that last book, as it happens sometimes, but it is what it is, unfortunately. But if you're a comic fan, I would check that one out. I would read all but the last book, seriously. Like, I don't know, maybe you can find some way to get into it, but it was weird. So, yeah, that's gonna be it. Oh my goodness, this is significantly longer than 30 minutes, you guys. So thank you so much for sticking it through and watching the whole thing. Very nice of you, especially because this is not a popular series at all. I just did this because I liked it, and I felt most equipped to give a review on it, as it's a whole series that I've read all the way through. So, thank you so much for watching this. It was very nice of you. You're so sweet to me. I love you guys. Yeah. Thank you for watching. I said that 3 times now. You're thrice thanked, you guys. Very thanked. Make sure to share this pod with your friends, even if it's not this episode. Just share it, get it out there. Tell people I'm super interesting and I talk about things that are cool. So, yeah, thank you. That's 4 times. I gotta stop. Okay, question. That's the last thing. Comment if you are in. I don't know. I'll think of it later. I'm not thinking of it right now. I gotta end this thing. Okay. Yeah, that'll be it. See you next time.